You're not responsible. It was wrong. Reach out to me. We'll connect you.
I will never see, speak, or hear from Aaron Smith Levin for the rest of my life.
I've been raised since the age of 4 to follow orders, do as I was told, or risk losing everything.
If we speak out, that's the only way they're going to get the strength to have the courage to do the same.
Why the hell does someone have to escape to get out of a religion?
I'm still shocked by the evil. This is pure evil at work.
All right, welcome to another Come Get Some Extra Scientology edition. This is part 2 with Glenda Smith. You heard her twice last week. Wonderful lady. You get to hear the rest of her story here today. A lot to cover there. As you all might know, this will be my last Come Get Some Extra for a while. I'm taking a little break. I don't know if it'll be like 2 weeks, 4 weeks, somewhere in that range. And I'll be back with a really great bucket list interview if things go as planned. So look forward to that. A very important guest I could be getting here. So stay tuned. Also after the show, I'm going to take us out with something a little bit different. The show will not be taken out by the theme song, but that theme that I do at the end, it'll be something special that I want to do for you guys. And we'll get to that. So stay tuned after the interviews. Also, I realize there may be some people listening, some people who don't have social media, people who aren't aware of it, people also who are never in that want to do more. You always want to know what we can do. What can we do to help? And sometimes people don't feel comfortable going on the government website and filling out the form to challenge tax exemption of Scientology. Of course, tax exemption being very key in the whole recognition of religion thing, and it makes it very difficult. Makes it very difficult for government to enforce law and stop these abuses on the cult of Scientology. And you can help in a very simple, easy way. If you're on a computer right now and you're listening to this, on the Blog Talk Radio link for this podcast, I have put a link to the change.org petition put out by Jeffrey Augustine. All you have to do is copy the entire link, highlight it, copy it, and paste it in the address line of your browser. It'll take you straight to the Sign This Petition website. Now, this petition is to the IRS Commissioner John Koskinen, demanding that the IRS Commissioner begin an investigation into the Scientology tax-exempt status. As we all know, as is fairly clear just by watching and seeing with our eyes, there are a lot of abuses of the tax-exempt status. Plus, it's an excuse, and it's something that they've been hiding behind to traffic people, to harm children, to harm people in general. And you can help put a stop to that. You can actually, when you go to the website, all you have to do is click on Sign This Petition, and when you sign it, it'll need your email address and name. But you don't need your name to be publicly available. People don't have to know you signed this, so you can do it discreetly. Once you've signed a petition, which is like 3 boxes to fill in, name and email address, you click Submit to go to your email. There's a link in there that came to you from change.org. You just click it. It confirms you signed the petition. You have now signed it and actively been a big part of helping to try to take down this destructive cult. All right, so without further ado, remember, stay tuned after the show for something special here. Again, my last show for a little bit, and let's hear the rest of part 2 with Glenda Smith. So something that I always try to understand with CCHR is that they're supposedly trying to offer alternatives, offer support against the abuses in psychiatry. And the thing is that if you have a history of taking psychological drugs, if I'm not mistaken, you can't be a Scientologist. Is that right?
Correct.
So this is kind of a conflict for me.
Yeah. To be honest with you, it was one of my, in the back of my head through all of that clanking, installed concept stuff. It was actually something I struggled with quietly. So there's a thing in Scientology, very basically, that if you've had psych treatment, and I won't get into the pure definitions of that, but if you've had psych treatment, you cannot have Scientology auditing or counselling, and you have to get permission to do training and course rooms. It's a huge, long road. If you've had, it can just be psychiatric counselling even. It's not just medicine. It can actually be that you saw a psychiatrist in his office for therapy, talk therapy.
Right.
So there's this kind of, Hubbard said that these people are damaged, that people have psych treatment.
They're not evil, right?
No, but they're under the influence.
Right.
Psychiatry. It's just so convoluted. So CCHR, what the real purpose of CCHR is to penetrate into society, remove or eradicate, is the word we use, eradicate psychiatrists and psychology, and this would clear the pathway, because they were the enemy, this would clear the pathway for Scientology methods to be introduced into society. When I say society, into education, into justice, into mental health systems, society. There's not just, I know this is kind of crazy, but that's what the aim was. So you go out and you try and find the abuses of psychiatrists and psychologists. You actually go and interview people who've been mental health patients. And to be fair, because there are abuses in those mental health systems. There have been.
Yeah.
There absolutely have been. But it's looking back, I remember a couple of interviews I did with mental health patients, and I remember feeling kind of predatory, and having to really shut that down very quickly in my own head. Some of these people aren't well, and like in a lot of industries, there are abuses.
Yeah.
And particularly around vulnerable people. Mental health patients can be particularly vulnerable people. So we would go and interview these mental health patients and clients and get their stories, and we'd make them into affidavits and try and take that to law enforcement at the police, or find a lawyer to take their case or whatever. And there's a whole process that you go through. But what were we offering those mental health patients? Nothing. We were using them.
For stats.
Yeah. And to fulfill the agenda that CCHR was meant to do, which is to eradicate psychiatry and psychology so that Scientology could move on. We weren't offering them anything. We were just using them.
And that was to build the case that all these people have these complaints against psychiatry that they can use for however they need to use it to demonstrate what's happening.
Yeah, how evil, the mental health were. I think it took me, once I left, and really started to look at this, it was one that really snagged up on me, because it's a highly emotional area. And if we look in history, mental health problems is a highly emotional area. People, families, there's stigmas, it's a highly difficult area. What do you do with a person who's not acting within the parameters of normal, who's talking to, flies on the wall or whatever? It's a difficult area for humans. And I felt pretty gutted with myself that we had used vulnerable people to afford the aims of this crazy agenda of our influence. And it took me time to work out, yes, there are abuses in the mental health system. I'm not going to, there are. But to find a sort of balanced view, and also to take into account what advocacy and, there are massive moves to protect mental health patients' rights and so forth. Huge moves in the last 40 years. Massive. legislation shifts and so forth.
Right.
Everything keeps evolving except Scientology. There is so much evolutionary stuff going on in mental health systems and justice systems and all sorts of places except Scientology, which is stuck in Cold War, a one-hub mentality.
I find it interesting that the things that Scientology, the things that L. Ron Hubbard wanted to attack, that he considered the enemy to a sane world without criminality or any of this stuff, was to destroy everything that was against what he was saying. Because you went to CCHR because you cared about people and you wanted to help people who weren't getting the proper help through psychiatry. But as you stated, in the end, they were left with nothing. Nothing but the psychiatric issues.
Yeah. And there's so much irony in what, Hubbard would sort of... One of the things I had to really face once I left, Hubbard... I didn't take any drugs for 20 years. I took no drugs. I can tell you exactly... drugs are bad and they'd mess with you, what you used to call the case. So I, in 20 years, had general anesthetic to have my wisdom teeth removed because they were seriously impacted, and that's it. In 20 years, that's it. That's the only drugs I had.
So headaches you just dealt with?
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who said that they've never taken a pill for a headache.
I have now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
But no, in 20 years, that's it. I don't even think I took antibiotics, although maybe my medical notes, did have a medical doctor, but they just, I just didn't do, it was just like drugs are bad for my case, I'm not going to do them. And then I found out when I left, from eyewitnesses, not people making stuff up, eyewitnesses, that L. Ron Hubbard, he kind of used a few drugs, right?
I've heard, yep.
Yeah, and I had that on very good authority from somebody who, I really, really trust. I won't reveal more, but, private conversation.
Right.
I was pretty angry. I was pretty angry about that. I suffered through numerous headaches over the years, and I just never, ever took any drugs. And, he's it. Hello? Yeah.
Wow.
So much hypocrisy.
So when you were in CCHR, was there ever a case as maybe something that also would get involved in where someone would come in, they had a bad experience, and also would want to use them for something? Would they give them a contract to protect them? Because I'm hearing a story about somebody who was giving a protective contract that they would be protected from being put on a psychiatry against their will. And they signed that contract, and now they speak out basically on behalf of OSA on social media.
Wow. No, that's something I was familiar with. We were always very aware that mental health patients were unable to participate in Scientology services and we considered them very damaged. It was like not a pleasant way to look at people, but there you go. And so we never made any kind of claims that we could do anything for them, but they could, take their story to the police or whatever we deemed, was it a criminal sort of thing? Was it something that perhaps an agency, a government agency could deal with? But we never did anything like that, never could have that.
Okay. And that could be something that's more modern day because of social media, because of the internet and the visibility that they have.
Mm-hmm.
So did you have any family in Scientology? I don't remember if they were ever in at one point or another.
No. There's so many threads, so many stories that come from an experience like this. One is definitely my family. None of my family approved of me being in Scientology, but they were all very careful. And partly that is because I had a first cousin my father's side of the family, and she had become, her and I hold the record in the family, being the two that were involved in cults. That's fun. We make fun of it at family weddings now. But she had become involved in a cult, oh my gosh, it must have been the late 70s, early 80s, here in New Zealand, a New Zealand cult called Centrepoint. And so my dad, it was his sister's kid, my dad had an awareness of, you got to realize in the 80s there's no internet, and we were in small town New Zealand, and there's no information people like my father to get. It's just, it's sort of like, what do you do? So Dad did have some information or awareness because of what my cousin had been through and what the family there had gone through. And, Dad didn't want to lose me completely. And so any conversations I did have with my family about my involvement were very guarded on my part. And Dad, looking back, Dad was also very careful about what he said. And I think Dad had instructed Mum to say nothing. Dad was really scared he was going to lose me completely.
Rightfully so.
Absolutely, he read it well. Looking back, so that meant that I did have contact with him 2 or 3 times a year. Back in those days, I used to write letters, and I still have some of those letters. It's kind of special. But so my relationship with my family of origin became very controlled, really controlled. Yes, I did see them, but I was walled up, like you wouldn't believe, and they obviously sensed that because they knew me well, and it just, anything real in those relationships completely dissolved. And a very powerful thing happened to me once I did leave, and I returned to my hometown. I caught up with a girl I'd gone to school with, and we've remained sort of in contact over the years. And this one kind of choked me up, but I'm cool.
Okay.
And I came back to my hometown, and I'm out, and at that stage I still wasn't making much sense of what had happened and so forth. And she said to me, my God, Glenda, it's so good to see you. And I said, yeah, thanks. I'm a little kind of messed up here, but I'll get there. And she said, all those years you were in that thing with Scientology, she said, I couldn't reach you. She said, it was like there was something around you. She said, it was just so damn weird, and she can't explain it, but you looked sort of the same, but you just weren't the same. And she said, I can't put my finger on what happened. And then she just looked at me, right, and she said, welcome back. And it was just, we hugged, and it was just amazing, right? This woman who'd known me, she'd known me since I was about 6, and she'd known me all my life, and then she'd seen this huge identity shift at me. And the other thing she said in that conversation was, she said, I didn't know what to do. So she said, I figured I'd just stay here and keep loving you, and one day you might return. You, the real you. She's not talking about my physical side. She's talking about the real Glenda.
Right.
And it was just, and I got a few of that, a little bit of that when I came back to my hometown, and I said, oh, welcome back. It's so good to have you back, That's pretty powerful when you haven't realized you become this cult identity and you're so walled up and careful and removed, and then that starts to fall down and people welcome you back. That's pretty powerful,
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to know, how did you get out? How did that occur? The getting out of Scientology.
Oh wow! How many hours have you with dying? All right, we'll start on the first hour. Okay, I was married to a true believing Scientologist, and his name is David. I can say that because people know David. And I'm not, stop that. And anyway, he'd been on staff for 10 years, and when he left, he started to really follow his engineering career. And that was all about making money to do more Scientology, particularly at FLAG in Florida.
Okay.
And so fast forward a few years after he left staff, and he was working for a big engineering company, and they wanted him up in China to train some Chinese engineers, basically, and work on some big projects. So we went to China. And this is a huge, it's such a big story. I mean, I've written about this for so much, and it's still coming out of me. Basically, the change of culture and language. Language is very important when you're trying to control people. And the language used in Scientology is mind-controlling language. It's not just another foreign language, it's very controlling language. So I go to China, and I don't understand anybody, and I don't really speak more than about 4 words Chinese initially, and I'm alone a lot because David is traveling with his dog, and it just started unraveling on me. And I just started to question everything, and I couldn't stop it, and I was in so much distress because I think that the term that would most people would understand, I was in spiritual crisis. And I mean, I just literally ached. It was just a mess. And then I had an awakening. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It sort of like sounds crazy, but I had this vision in this moment of clarity, and everything changed from that moment. I knew I couldn't go back to Scientology, and I was too scared to look on the internet. It was just, all the phobias kicked in hard. I was terribly unwell around that time. I was completely traumatized. And I then told David I can't do Scientology anymore, and that turned everything upside down. That's a huge story. He treated me like the enemy. He's got no such, like, game, Scientology, yeah, at every level,
That's a quick change, is it not? Like you're 1 minute, hey, good to see you. Wait, what? Get out. Something like that.
In the moment that there's certain things in life you never forget. You frame them differently, you process them differently, but there's certain moments in life you never forget. And at that point, David and I, when I said to him, I can no longer participate in Scientology. I remember saying it very quietly and very calmly because I knew that what I was saying was, potentially life-changing for him, and I was very quiet about it. And he turned around, and I think at that point we've been married about 13 or 14 years. So this wasn't a new marriage, and he turned around without blinking. He said, "Well, that's it. Then this marriage is over."
Not even a consideration.
No, that was it. It was like that. He just turned around and said, "That's it, then this marriage is over." I'm like, I am just absolutely what? I couldn't breathe. I could not breathe. He was really my best friend, and I really believed in marriage, and there was this commitment, and all those things were there. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to. It put me in so much confusion because I couldn't stay in Scientology anymore, but I was going to lose everybody. And it was a huge, massive decision to keep moving forward and be true to my own heart and be true to, saving myself because, I'd become very messed up by all of this. And it got worse before it got better. It got way worse because he then started treating me like the enemy. And
that's terrible.
It's open season. And eventually, it got rough.
Scientology really is the most important thing to some people. More than any family member, any spouse, it breaks up families.
Yeah, it is fanaticism. The cause is greater than any relationship, anything. It's and I was that. Where I would, my parents became less important to me. My own siblings, all the relationships that have mattered to me. Your old school friends, the relationships that mean something, all in secondary.
You weren't truly disconnected from your family, but you were sort of figuratively, symbolically disconnected from your family.
Yeah, I would have them as fast as you can, pick up a cup. If they had threatened or, tried to get me out of Scientology, I would have just gotten just like that. I know that. It had always been an option. If Mum and Dad kick up noise about me being in Scientology, I know what I'm choosing. It's not hard.
That's interesting because you would have dropped your family, but then now you're faced with the horror of you're going to lose your marriage, of it the same way that your family would have lost you. It's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, and I wasn't unaware of that at the time. That who I had become and what I had done and been willing to do, and that whole sort of cult identity, if you like, I had to face it, to now pay the price. And it was a price. I when I left, and eventually, it's a big story about what happened in the 2 years after I sort of can't stay, and I stayed in the marriage, but I wasn't in the marriage. It was crazy. I was broken, and it was very well, and I didn't get medical help because he wouldn't get it. It was just crazy, and I then became aware that I was paying the price for having been who I had been all those years, and facing that, facing what I had become, and the people I had used, and the lies I had said, and even the spying, and there was a price for living that. The road that you walk, there was a price, and you might think you're getting away with it, but you're not. And so I had to face, a lot of deep inner, all right, this isn't pretty. But so, I don't know. I feel a bit speechless.
No, you're going back through it again, and I'm sorry to put you through that.
No, that's fine. Honestly, I'm really robust about this.
Mm-hmm.
I have had a lot of wonderful support and kept saying great job, business. But there are some things I accept. I leave you speechless, and
some things, that's all there is speechless.
Yeah.
Now, along the lines of we talked about this off air, and I know I don't really want to spend a lot of time on this, but I think it's important, because Anne a few weeks ago on the show talked about this. How long did it take you to be yourself again, do you think?
I definitely comes away in layers. You sort of you discover. I kept discovering things about myself. It was just, the first time there were so many firsts. At the first time, I didn't wear perfume or scented products for 20 years. Hair shampoo, hand cream. To get perfume as scent, I didn't wear perfume, and so there were all these firsts that I had to go through, and I didn't even know they existed.
Wow.
The first social party, wearing perfume. There's so many poignant moments that I went through. How to interact with humans without all this sort of filtering going on in my head all the time, Scientology language and Scientology concepts. So how long did it take? I was just thinking this morning, there's still the odd thing I run into. Not definitely very often now, but I'm out, it'll be 10 years this year. I think it probably took at least 7 or 8 years. And I have to say, in my defense, I have worked really hard. I have actually had therapy the whole way through. With there might have been 3 or 4 months break. I would pull back from that to let myself kind of get used to the world again. But I have worked really hard, and I have read a lot, and I have reflected a lot, and I've done therapeutic journaling the whole way, and I've worked really hard at recovery. At times, my therapist would tell me to back off.
Oh, you know. So you'd recommend therapy?
Absolutely.
Over auditing any day, I'm sure.
Oh, we're not even in the same ballpark. I mean,
right.
True therapeutic relationship compared to auditing, it's like, they don't even. The only thing they have in common is you sit in a room with somebody. That's it. I mean, like I had a lot of auditing in Scientology, a lot of their counselors, because I was phobic about having psychological-based therapy, and I nearly died in the waiting room. I literally nearly had a heart attack. It was all very dramatic.
Oh my gosh.
And so I go and have therapy with this trained therapist, and it's like, it just took me, I don't know, probably took me 3 or 4 months to actually really start relaxing and trusting her. Because it was so difficult, so empowering. And you're moving into yourself. You're not working with methods or systems or ideas. You're moving into yourself and your own thoughts and your own emotional experiences and your own sense of spirituality. Pick a subject, and it's all in your hands. It's got nothing to do with anybody's ideas. Well, that's so different from doing it. Completely different.
Yeah.
I recommend therapy. Yeah. I mean, there's certain advisors around, especially for a person who's been in that type of controlled sort of mind prison, mental prison zone. There's certain things that I would, looking back, I mean, I was blessed the therapist that was, wow, my journey was full of luck. But I think for a lot of people coming out of Scientology, it would be difficult to get a workable therapist because of what you're holding yourself. Your trust isn't there. And you've got to build trust for a healthy working relationship, therapeutic relationship. And that was hard. So yeah, I recommend therapy. Get someone that you can really trust and feel comfortable with, and weep and wail and be angry and express your joy. You've got to find someone you can truly trust.
Now, I brought up Anne a little bit ago, and it's something we talked about off air was that you had in common with her, and that was how it affected with your father. And the reason I bring this up, the only reason I bring it up, is because it's important, I think, for anyone who is thinking about signing up with Scientology, anyone who's just starting with Scientology that might hear this. You said your father never got to meet you as you.
Yeah. I think it's one of my deep sadnesses.
And it's all Scientology's fault.
Well,
I mean, it is. I mean, but as I say, it's completely, but it is.
Yeah. I got into Scientology in '87, and in 2007 I had this awakening in China, and but my dad died in 1995, and so I'm sort of still mid Scientology,
right?
And Dad and I had a difficult relationship all my life. Dad and I never quite kind of clicked, and for whatever reason, right? That's a whole other story. But he was my father, and he did the very best he could to raise us kids, myself and my siblings, and there's a very practical side of it. Anybody that knows me will laugh. I'm that woman who can, change the tires in the car and do all these, fuses, and I'm really practical. That's Dad. Dad raised me to be ultra practical. And if I can't fix something around the house, I'll at least give it a go. And that's my father. He was an awesome teacher like that. And sends a lot of Dad in me, and, So Dad died in 1995, and I just blithely carry on in my little bubble of saving the world. And then when I left, in 2007, it all started to crack, and eventually I returned to my hometown, and by that time my mum was quite elderly. I actually dropped out of contact with her. It really got rough. So I come back to my hometown, and in 2011, I reconnected with Mum. And by that stage, she was pretty elderly, and she died 3 years later. I had about 2.5 years later. I had about 2.5 years to get to know my mother, and then she passed away.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, but it was. I'm very, very grateful for that short time we did have, because we built a relationship, which was really cool. But anyway, I was able to talk to her because Dad had never met the real Glenda. I was always cult influenced Glenda, and when I left, I realised I'd agreed to my father's death, and so here we are. There's nothing like delayed grief. Whoa, can't explain that. When Dad died, I had a little week. I went to the funeral, and I just got back on with life. The Scientology influenced life. So here I am. I think it was about 11 years after he died, or 12 years ago. I started to go, oh my God, my father's dead. Oh, and I started reading things like, about the grief process. I started reading other schools of thought. Like, what's this grief process people talk about? So I've gone read up on it. And I realised, oh my gosh, I've never really grieved for my father dying, and he was my father. So I went through this intense delayed grief.
No, that's a Scientology thing, right? You're not supposed to grieve?
No, grief, like, that's not cool. That's not very, that's tone scale thing.
That's down stat, right? No, down stat, but low tone.
Yeah, and it's exhibiting far too much human emotion. You don't want to exhibit much human emotion, because that will get in the way of you being an effective Scientologist and producing well and all this layered nonsense. So yeah, you need to have a little appropriate cry, but don't cry too long, and just get on with it. So I didn't grieve the loss, the relationship between a child and their father. That's the more important relationship.
It's unbelievable.
And so then I had to grieve for my father 12 years after the event, and I was really angry about it, because I had been so shut down emotionally because of the Scientology stuff. Fast forward, I don't know, a year or so, and I reconnected with my mum, and we started to get to know each other, and asked her, did Dad approve of me being in Scientology? She just went, no. And her and I were able to talk about that. And I asked Mum, do you think Dad would have liked me? I've changed a lot since I left, And she told me, your Dad would have been really proud of Glenda. And because it was really hard to leave. It's really hard to leave all the phobias and everything you lose. And I'm very grateful that I had that time with my mother.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, I'm proud and honored I get to know the real Glenda. That's the only Glenda I know.
Thank you.
No problem. What I'm going to do here, I usually do at the end of all my interviews, I do something called 10 questions. It's a little bit of fun, just, crazy questions, and then if the first thing comes to mind. Is there anything else you wanted to add to your experience? Anything else that maybe might be important to tell that we didn't tell?
I think the only thought I do here is that I became very aware very quickly that it's a very isolating experience coming out of a very controlling group, and it's not something that many people really understand, and certainly that has been a really difficult thing. And I think that people like yourself and many others, actually, who are trying to raise awareness and share these stories, and they're real people. We're real people.
Damn smart people.
Yeah, and caring people, and all the former Scientologists that I'm close with in my life, they're such caring people. They're the salt of the earth kind of people, and these controlling, particularly for me, what I know, Scientology, but controlling groups that change the identity and change people as a community or as a society, in the fanatical way that it's become. Fanaticism is an issue in our world, and Scientology is fanatical. Scientologists are fanatical. What is that glassy look in their eye? It's fanaticism. Why are they so weird and hard to talk to? they've got ultra focused on that cause, and we can laugh about that, and we can make personal comments about those people, and so forth. But when people like myself and many, many others here are coming out into the world, it's, we're trying to find our voice and our confidence and make sense of it all, what happened to me. It's really wonderful to find people that are willing to stop and listen, and I think ultimately for me that this doesn't happen to people behind me. I'm absolutely fierce about young people, children, teenagers, kids. Like if I ever saw anybody I know getting near Scientology, I would just grab them.
Right.
Be really fierce. Immunization, I guess, is the word. To immunize. The more we talk about this, and open, honest dialogue about it, the more immunization we can bring to the world. That we close those doors down so the kids in my life and the kids in your life don't get involved in this sort of thing.
Right,
and
exactly.
That really matters to me.
Yeah, I think that's the most important. I'm really very concerned about the young people, and I know there's an increase. It's actually an increase of what they're doing with young people, baby auditing. I've heard of young people going through the purification. It's insane, and I don't want to see that happen anymore.
Yeah.
All right.
I feel pretty strongly about that too. Yeah.
Absolutely. I could listen to you all day.
I could talk all day.
Yeah, you're good at it. Maybe I'll have you on again. Absolutely enjoyed this. So let's go ahead and do 10 questions with Glenda Smith. All right, Glenda, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, question number 1. You're from New Zealand, right?
Yeah.
All right, what's the best part of New Zealand? Why should I or anyone else visit New Zealand?
The food.
Good food?
Yeah.
What's a real good New Zealand dish? I can get that anywhere, but it's different in New Zealand?
Absolutely it is.
Okay, I got to get New Zealand fish and chips. I got you. Okay. All right, maybe someday. All right, number 2. First, I got to ask you first before this. Have you seen Miscavige in person?
No.
Okay, but you know about... All right, well, let's see if you... What do you believe? True or false? Can David Miscavige walk under a table without bumping his head?
True.
Okay, it's probably true. Number 3. You don't have to say anything nice, but can you say anything nice or a good thing about CCHR?
I met some nice people.
But that's about it. The people, nothing about the actual group. There's nothing about the organization.
No, but
No.
it would have to be the people.
Have to be the people. Okay. Well, you were a good person that was there.
Thank you.
Number 4. Have you been to the U.S.?
No.
Is there anywhere in the U.S. you'd like to visit?
Yeah, I'd really like to, there's so many people there that I would love to come visit.
You're just hop states.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the grand tour or something.
The tour of the country. All right. Number 5. Now, I've this is kind of off kilter, a little bit, kind of off to the side thing. I know you said in different places I've seen you say that sometimes you unwind by doing a little dancing around the house.
That's true. Yeah.
Huh?
That's true.
That's true. How is your dancing?
Oh, it's awful.
You're just having fun. You're just having fun. Okay.
I'm not here.
Dance like no one's watching because no one is. All right, that's good. Number 6. All right, this is a tricky one, but I think it's pretty easy. Number 6, true or false? The best place to find the truth is from the source.
What kind of source are we talking about?
Well, that's the thing, right? If all the place you ever get your information from is from the source, they can tell you whatever they want to.
Yeah, but when it's kind of funny, right? Because when you say source, all I can think of is like chili sauce and
Not sauce, source.
That's what happens when you free your mind, right? Everything just what.
All right, so false, right? Yeah, I knew it was false. Do you like comedy?
Yeah, I do.
What's your favorite comedy?
It's actually probably New Zealand.
Original programming?
Yeah, the Flight of the Conchords.
I heard of that. I need to check that out. I've never watched it, but I know a lot of people who are fans of Flight of the Conchords.
It's so funny.
I'll try it. I'll check it out.
Yeah, Flight of the Conchords.
When you drink, do you like to drink wine or do you like the hard stuff?
I really drink. Not for any other reason than I just don't. But if I do, I live in a wine growing region, so yeah, I like a little bit of wine.
Good. And number 10, give me a number between 1 and 10.
A number between 1 and 10. 7.
I'm just going to say it right. Good job. You got it. All right, Glenda, it has been such a pleasure talking to you. We did a pre-interview and talked a little bit, and I could talk to you more, and I think we probably will. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I think you're going to be a valuable voice out there to be heard on this show and for the X community.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and it's been, a real pleasure. Thank you.
No problem. You take care.
I thought it was Glenda Smith. I could talk to her all day. Of course, not a pleasure hearing what happened to her, but a pleasure talking to Glenda because she is a true joy. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to end the show a little bit differently today. Remember, copy the link into the browser for the IRS petition. Sign it. Put your email address. Don't make it public if you don't want to. Go to your email. Click confirm email. You signed the petition and you've contributed. So I'll be back. I don't know if it's 2 or 4 weeks, but this show will be back. It's not going anywhere. And during the course of talking to and getting to know people in and around the world of Scientology, I've accumulated a lot of information and a lot of experiences. And, it has a profound effect on you when you start to see these things and start to learn these things for legitimate items that they are. And way back when I was a very young man, or maybe just getting into manhood, and as a child, a teenager, I was very sensitive, and I would write a little bit of poetry, but I haven't written in like over 30 years, close to 30 years, and I was a sensitive kid, and sometimes those sensitive ideas come back to you over time when you're dealing with stuff. And sometimes they're more detrimental than others, but sometimes they work out for something. So I wrote a little something that I put out on the internet, on social media. A lot of you have seen. I don't know if everybody's seen it or heard it. So that is how I'm going to take the show out today. Normally, I would not share this kind of thing so publicly or so openly. But at this age and this point in my life, I don't really give a shit. If I feel strongly about something, I feel strongly about something. So basically, by the end of it, it works like a mission statement for this podcast anyway. And that's how we're going to end it. So until I see you guys again, stay connected. And that about sums it up.
Sheltered life, mental chains, intergalactic goals, teenage wives, false schemes, and stained children's souls, broken homes, unhealed bones, innocence lost before it's found, voice that drones, screwed up tones, compassion not anywhere around. Where's the love? Where's the heart? Why am I not quite clear on this part? Learn fake words, get a loan, pay it as you can. Find afterwards you were just a clone, a shadow of a man. What are your crimes? What did you do? Did you know it was wrong? How many times was it covered for you? The statutes can be pretty long. Are you in trouble? Were you hurt, an innocent victim? You're in the bubble. They are certain you must have pulled it in. There's no ration, no compassion, no regard for human life. No interaction, nor act of passion to soothe that kind of strife. Outside folks nod and move along. Look the other way. No real interest in righting your wrongs. No interest in having say. But I see you in all your beauty and all your pain. I see the scars and ugliness and even all your flaws. Yet I return again and again and again. And still I always look on in awe. I see you. And if it's the last thing I do, the world will see you too.
You have been listening to Come Get Some Extra on Blog Talk Radio, iTunes, YouTube, and many other streaming services where available. As always, stay connected, and that about sums it up.